I really only had one option to go, and that was with trying to get Lex and Kim Johnson to vote off Tom. Somebody came up and whispered to me, watch out for Lex.
Did Tom tell you not to trust me?
Tom wants Lex off, but he says I can't vote him, so he wants everybody else to do the dirty work for him.
You need to bring me your torch. It's time for you to go.
Teresa Cooper is a flight attendant from Georgia. Teresa, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine,
Doing all right?
you. Doing great, thank you.
You're disappointed.
I'm disappointed. I got so close, so of course I wanted to make it to the Final Four and of course to the end.
Now, last night I heard you say that you never thought that you'd make it this far on the show.
I think because of the way that things started out with our tribes being split, I realized I'm in trouble. But once Mark swap things around, then I knew, I think I can stay in for the long haul.
You knew you had a chance,
right?
Yeah. But ultimately, the same tribes held to the end.
Yes.
And the first alliances held
Right.
strong.
And it's funny, our first alliances though didn't, because when we got Brandon and a little bit, which is Kim Powers and Frank and myself, I figured we could probably come back and take over. But Brandon decided to go with Lex. So their first alliance was stronger, and of course ours wasn't, unfortunately.
So talk to me about Lex. Why the confession about Lex and the vote?
Well, from the minute I voted for him, and once again, I always said, what's the big deal? It was just one vote, one vote.
But it was an important vote.
Yeah, I think it for them, for the old Baran, it showed, something's going on that we don't know about. We're losing control, and I think that bothered him more than anything, is not having the control. So from the minute I saw how upset not only he was, but the other Baran members were, original Baran, I thought, oh my goodness, I need to let him know. But I think I'll wait till the perfect time.
Yeah.
And last night, I knew I was going to let him know before I was voted out. And all of a sudden, to me, it seemed like, well, I asked Lex, am I going tonight? And he said, yeah, T-Bird, So then I thought, well, if nothing else, let me just try this different strategy.
It's a last-ditch effort.
Exactly. Yeah. I knew I was going to let him know that I voted for him anyway. And maybe it might show that the alliance that he thought was so strong, there's a little problem with it.
You said Lex was upset. Maybe that was a bit of an understatement. Lest we forget how upset Lex was, we pulled together some tape. We'll show it right now, okay?
Okay.
All right.
And I'm gonna take them out. I'm gonna slit their throats. The moment I met you, I knew that I could trust you. And I trust my gut over my eyes any day. My gut told me that you're the real deal. So
Thanks, Lex.
and thank you. So
Thanks, Lex. I'm the real deal, and I want to keep my throat.
Exactly.
Yeah,
He's
Lex,
such a meanie. I've been thinking about this the whole time. We were talking about this before we started.
Lex, now, first of all, let me say, if Lex had said, T-Bird, was that you that voted for me last night? I'd have said, Lex, it was. Probably that might not have been the best thing to do, but he never asked me. He just said, I know you're the real deal. I know you didn't vote for me. And so I just kept looking at him like, okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't say anything. But Lex is absolutely wonderful. He's a great guy. I think he's real sensitive, and I think it comes across a little bit in anger. He's absolutely wonderful.
You like Lex.
I am crazy about Lex.
Frank.
I love Frankie.
Yeah. Even though
Yes.
you did vote for him there at the end.
Right. Well, Frank and I were very, very close. We were very good friends, and the vote cast for him was very difficult. Only that I knew that meant the alliance, and we were breaking down. But Frank had actually said, T-Bird, vote for me, and hopefully you'll be able to stay in longer. That just shows how much we cared about each other, and I'm sure I would have done the same thing had it have been the other way.
Hunger was always an issue for you guys. But you're always chasing chickens. Why didn't you pick up the chicken and eat the chicken?
Well,
why are you always chasing the chickens around?
The chicken, believe it or not, it takes time to prepare the chicken.
You didn't have time? You didn't have
Well,
an hour
we did have a lot of time, but we never knew when they were going to pull us and say, okay, time to go for a reward or time to go. They didn't give us time to do things, and we knew we needed at least a good 3 or 4 hours to prepare the chicken. Let it cook long enough. So I think that's what happened. And of course, chasing the chicken was really just something to do. As Tom said, hey, the chicken's out.
You're just bored out there.
Yeah, and I live on a farm with chickens and guineas. So I'm well aware that you can't catch a chicken by chasing it.
Speaking of the farm and home, how are the kids
Yeah.
enjoying watching
Tyler and Ellie are loving watching it.
But they were fans of Elizabeth. You were
Yes,
telling
like
me
I was
before.
telling you, my little girl, if I hadn't have made it this far, my little girl probably wouldn't have seen me because Ellie would fall asleep during the show when she realized that Elizabeth, which was from S2, wasn't on there. You know, I'm just mom, and she sees me all the time. So she was a little bit upset that Elizabeth wasn't there.
Well, we have a lot to talk about with you.
Teresa, good morning.
Good morning, Lori.
I felt like I was watching a Dickensian drama unfold with your little, someone told me.
Wasn't
I
that
should
dramatic?
Watch out for you. It was dramatic.
That was so dramatic.
Was it true? Did
Yes.
Tom really say that to you
Yes.
about Lex?
Yes. Actually, Tom had told me that early on. I think the very first day when the tribes merged, he whispered in my ear, "Watch out for Lex." I thought, watch out for Lex. And then, when Lex decided to go ahead and tell Clarence that he was going to be the one voted out that night, and even Mama Kim said, what's he doing? Why is he doing that? So I thought to myself, it looks like they don't want Lex around. Maybe I should go ahead and put one vote on him and get the wheels turning. And of course, once I did that, it got the wheels turning all right. I almost lost my neck.
Well, when Lex went on the rampage about, who gave him the one vote, I mean, you kind of sat back and let Kelly take the bullet for you.
I kind of sat back. Yeah. Well, actually, Kelly had created a little bit of doubt early on because she, I think, was kind of going back and forth. And so I think that was a reason for Lex to say it had to be Kelly. Now, I didn't speak up because at the time I thought, I don't think I'm ready to divulge the information yet. But Lex actually did approach me, and if he had have asked, T-Bird, was it you that voted for me? Then I'd have said, yeah, Lex, I did.
So he never directly asked you?
No, he didn't. He came up to me and goes, I know you're the real one, T-Bird, and I know you're this and that. And I was just looking at him, and I just said, thank you, Lex.
You knew you'd have to fess up about this sometime,
yeah,
though.
and I kept saying, I kept thinking, I'm going to tell him. I just don't know when it's going to be. And then, of course, in the show last night, I thought, you know what, this might be the best time to tell him because I want to tell him if I'm voted off, and this could help me stay a little bit longer.
Was that your last-ditch effort?
Last-ditch effort. I thought if he sees that there's some type of the alliance that he's with, there's a break in the chain that he may decide, you know what, I need to do something about this other guy that looks like he's trying to get me out of here. So it was a last-ditch effort.
Yeah, and too bad it didn't work. But I'm thinking about all the challenges that you went through, and I'm guessing that the one last night, the reward challenge last night, was probably the one you would have wanted to win, having that your brother died of AIDS.
Well, I told Lex, I said, you know what, Lex, if it couldn't be me going, how wonderful that it's you, because Lex, who's really gotten a bad rap, is a very sensitive, wonderful, emotional guy. He's got 2 children, River and Corbin, who seem to be just wonderful. He's a fantastic father. So for him to go to the hospital, the Children's Pediatric Hospital, was, like I said, if it couldn't be me, we were well represented by Lex. He is an absolute sweetheart.
I was crying at home. I don't even know if you could have gotten through it without weeping.
It would have probably, how you just kind of muster everything up to do it. I think that would have been. And actually, I was thinking and hoping that we were all 5 of us going to get to go, and then I realized, it would just be too much. Whoever took them, at least they got there.
Yeah. Teresa, you're so kind. You're just too nice. Thank you so much for being here this
Thank
morning. We
you,
really
Lori.
appreciate it.